Have you gotten overuse injuries in the past, whether from biking, kayaking, working at your desk? So many things come down to a couple main areas where overuse injuries occur. We're talking shoulders, neck, we're talking low back, hips, and knees. These are areas that overuse injuries can really impact, and also they can impact your life and not let you do the thing that you want to do. In this video, we're going to go over three main areas and kind of what you need to be doing strength-wise in those regions to help you prevent and also come back from overuse injuries. The first one is neck, shoulders area. This is in regard to your pulls. So a lot of us, we get a lot of pushes in our workouts and or in life. We're hunched forward, we're doing more things in front, but we don't get enough to actually push ourselves back. We don't open our chest as much, and we don't give ourselves the strength that we need in between our shoulder blades. This strength in our shoulder blades is necessary for our shoulders because of how the anatomy goes in the shoulders and also in the neck. If you're not giving your shoulders the support they need, then you are going to use your neck more for that. As you can see from this picture, you can see how the shoulder blades, as they come in attached to the body, there's not actually a strong bony attachment back from our shoulders to our main axial skeleton, aka our spine. We have our collarbone, but that's more of like a guide wire. It's giving like direction and support, but it's not giving the main strength and grounding that our shoulder needs. That comes from our shoulder blade muscles. And when I say shoulder blade muscles, it's anything that connects the shoulder blade back to your body, your ribs and or your spine. These are so many different muscles. There's 17 muscles that control your shoulders as they connect back to your actual axial skeleton. It's because our shoulders need so much range of motion to actually function correctly. And so doing a pull type movement can really be impactful to preventing some of the overuse injuries of pinching whenever you're raising up, having rotator cuff injuries, and being able to not pull on your neck, but to be able to pull from your ribs and thoracic spine or lumbar spine. These pull exercises can be a reverse fly. It can be a row. It can be any type of pulling motion that you're doing where your shoulder blades are coming in towards your rib cage, so they're seating in towards your rib cage, and also coming in closer towards your spine. It's not that we need one or the other, we need both to work with that. Whenever it seats in towards your spine, we use your serratus anterior muscle. This muscle comes in from the edge of the inner aspect of your shoulder blade, and it connects over to your rib cage. And so whenever it tightens down, it brings your shoulder blades in towards your ribs. This is preventing winging of your shoulder blades. When we bring your shoulder blades towards your spine, but not up, then we use a lot of your rhomboids, we use your middle and lower traps, and we also use your lats for this. All of these muscles help to support your shoulders and how they move and control to help support your actual shoulder joints. And so these muscles, any of your pull exercises that you're doing, making sure that you're getting in, not just bringing your shoulder blades towards your spine, but also that you're getting it, that coming in towards your rib cage. Those are key for that part, and to make sure that you're actually doing the pull exercises that you need, because they're not as fancy as your push ones, like you get in your planks, any of your presses that you're doing for chest press, any of your overhead presses. Some of your overhead presses can get your shoulder blade muscles like your lower trap, but we really need to focus and get you a pull exercise that you're doing in a lot of your different workouts. Number two comes into low back pain and hip flexor issues. Those kind of go hand in hand with things. As you mountain bike, as you hike more, as you move more, and if you sit more, then you typically have a weaker lower core. This lower core affects how your low back connects from your back to your actual sacrum area, to your pelvis, and it also affects how your hip flexors pull. Your hip flexors come from your femur up and attached to your spine. They also connect into your pelvis. But what helps control this base of support for your hip flexors is your core. It's mostly your abs in that core. And if you don't have a strong contraction of those lower core muscles, which most of the time whenever we're working out, we use our upper core and we miss out on our lower core exercises. Or we try to do ones that are too hard for us and we feel our hip flexors working for us. Believe me, I used to do it all the time. I played Division I college soccer and I didn't really use my lower core. I used my hip flexors a lot. I didn't know there was a big difference then. Now I'm a physical therapist and I realized, also going through the rehab too, when I was in PT school, of how to actually target those lower ab muscles and give myself the support that I needed for the low back and for my hip flexors. These lower core exercises can be a range of things, but one of the easiest ones is just a leg reach. Laying on your back, reaching one leg out and back. You can even do like a marching exercise where you're coming up to tabletop and back down. All of these are so beneficial for your understanding control, brain to body, of how you can use and actually engage, strengthen your lower abdominal muscles. Now, one that's kind of goes similar with this, number 3, is our hip hinge. This hip hinge is critical when it comes to supporting your knees and also your back as well. It also helps with your hip issues because you're going to be strengthening your glutes with this. And if you have issues with actually targeting and engaging using your glutes, listen up. This segment is for you. And so when it comes to hip hinge, we talk about the deadlift a lot of times because that's where you are hinging at your hips and your trunk is staying still, flat, more like a rod. And then your legs are being the base of support for you to actually hinge from. And your hip is a very great joint to actually do this in because of its anatomy, its mechanics. Because you have the ball and you have the socket that sits on top of the ball. And now as you compress and move there, it just slides and glides in there. It's the perfect joint to load and to load with movement. The hip hinge is amazing. But this hip hinge, it requires a couple things. One, it requires core strength. And now we talked about lower core strength in the last point. This is lower core strength, upper core strength, trunk strength as a whole. Because we need your entire trunk to be still and stable and able to hold load through it without actually putting stress on your back. We also, this stable trunk means that as you hip hinge, then you will use your glutes and your hamstrings. This posterior chain, or the backside of your body, is what helps you to offload your back because you're using other muscles to support and provide movement. It's so wonderful. It's how these things interact and how they support each other to actually help you function and function the best that you can. How it supports your knees is that if your glutes are strong, you understand the hip hinge, then you take load off of your knees. Because if you don't hip hinge right, 1, you'll probably stress your back, and 2, you'll probably stress your quads, your knees. And this means that it kind of goes from one area and spreads out to the 2 areas above and below that segment, your low back and your knees. And so if you have knee issues, understanding how to hip hinge will help you do your squats better. It will help you to load your quads better because now you're actually getting your hamstrings to work with you and you're getting that control of in and outward with your glutes, because how you control your knees in and out is through your glutes. That's a hip rotation movement that controls where your knees are. It's just like if I'm going to move here, I want my elbow to swing out or in. This actually isn't an elbow movement. It's a shoulder movement. I'm rotating at my shoulder. And so same thing goes for your knees. If you rotate in, you rotate out for your knees, it's actually a hip movement. And so you need to strengthen your hip muscles, glutes, to help you with that control. I hope this was super helpful for you. adding in these exercises will drastically change your potential for overuse, and it will help you feel better as an overall whole. If you're looking for programs to follow, check out the links in my description. There are some different programs for women mountain bikers to help you be stronger and to feel better on your bike. Cheers, y'all.